Good afternoon. This is ABC Radio New South Wales, and the Prime Minister has rejected Labor's calls for a royal commission into the Robodebt scheme. Linda Burney is the opposition spokesperson for Families and Social Services and joins us now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Fiona.
Why do you think there needs to be a royal commission? The government has now apologised, paid back the money.
Well, they haven't paid back the money yet. They're saying that they will pay back the money, but I think the Prime Minister, and I notice that he has said it's not necessary. I think he's absolutely wrong. I mean, the number of people, over 740 illegal debt notices sent out to people who are part of the social security system without any human oversight. And whilst the Prime Minister may have apologised, whilst they're saying that the money is going to be paid back, they've admitted they made a mistake, but they have refused for 1 week during question time to actually explain when they found out it was illegal, who was involved and what they did about it. Remembering, Fiona, of course, that the Prime Minister was the Social Services Minister when this scheme was introduced in the 2015-2016 budget.
One of the questions you want answered by a Royal Commission is how much has the scheme cost the Australian taxpayer? Why would it have cost us if we were, if it was a system that was not using people?
Well, the things that we want to know is who came up with the idea, what advice was obtained in terms of the legality of the idea, why did the government know it was unlawful, and when did they know, and how was the scheme allowed to run for so long when it was illegal. What I have seen, Fiona, as well as my staff, have seen the human effect of people receiving these notices, being absolutely terrified, some people paying back money that they probably didn't owe in the first place. In all instances, working with people in terms of an advocacy role, reducing or getting rid of the debt, which proved it was illegal, but also the human costs and the stress and the strain and the shame that people have experienced in thinking that they've owed money. And of course, the Prime Minister is just so wrong when he says, well, Labor started data matching. Well, with all due respect, what this government did was introduce a totally automated system without any human oversight, which compared apples with oranges. The ATO, the Australian Tax Office, and Centrelink had different algorithms that they were working with, and is it any wonder that such a mistake was made?
And what do you think would be achieved by a Royal Commission that can't be achieved by you continuing to ask questions and things be fixed?
Well, a Royal Commission compels people to answer. It has a very different standing within the community to questioning question time or a Senate inquiry. It actually compels people to appear as witnesses and tell the truth about what actually happened. If this was some little blip over in the corner, fair enough, but it is not. This is an illegal scheme that affected 720,000 Australians or debt notices set out that has cost over $1 billion. Now, the other question, of course, is that the government is saying, oh, well, we're not going to pay interest. Well, some of these people would be owed interest, and that should be part of the equation as well.
I'm talking to Linda Burney, the opposition spokesperson for Families and Social Services. Now, here in New South Wales, where you used to be a politician, and I think you were actually involved too in education, I think the first time I interviewed you many moons ago.
Many years ago. I spent a good 30 years of my life involved in education and actually started my career out as a school teacher.
I wondered about these curriculum changes that have been announced today and whether or not you were hoping for some acknowledgement of, as a lot of academics are at the moment, of us teaching Indigenous history from kindergarten through to Year 12?
Well, the first thing to say is that you're absolutely correct, and people arguing that there needs to be an Aboriginal perspective across the curriculum, K to 12, are absolutely right to argue that, and I spent much of my life, as you know, Fiona, working on those issues. I'm a bit curious because the government did actually have a review of curriculum in 2018. I'm not quite sure what's happened to that review, and I don't know the status of the review that's been announced today, except I would hope it's not a political thought bubble, because we did lots of work in the 90s on precisely what's being said here. That's Aboriginal studies for years 11 and 12, and Aboriginal perspectives across the curriculum, particularly in the human education side of things, particularly for geography and history. Now, all of that work has been done, and I have lost a bit of touch with what's happened to that, but let's hope that what's being planned reinvigorates all that. Have another look at it, see where it's lacking, see where it needs to be updated, and that all students in our schools come out at the end of their school experience with a really good understanding and an honest understanding about the Australian story.
And just on that, you're the member for Barton, named after our first Prime Minister. There's a statue of him at Port Macquarie that the local Biripi people are running a petition to get rid of at the moment. Would you like to see your electorate name changed?
No, I wouldn't. One of the ironies, the sweet ironies, I have to say, of me being elected in 2016 as a member for Barton is that Sir Edmund Barton, our first Prime Minister, was one of the architects of the White Australia policy, and I just love the idea that there is now a First Nations woman representing the seat of Barton. I think that the really important issue with some statue removals and the discussion about that's been brought about by the Black Lives Matter movement are really important discussions. The important thing is that existing statues tell the truth, that they be local decisions about what happens with them. It's not so important what I think, but the most crucial thing is that going forward, as we've seen in a number of instances, there is now the opportunity to reflect the amazing diversity and the amazing length of human occupation in Australia in the way in which we represent things in parks and town squares.
Linda Burney, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Fiona.